It's time. Time to get credit for the work you've done. Time to get the recognition you deserve. With Purdue Global, you can move forward in your career, for your family, and for yourself. You're worth the investment in yourself to earn a degree you're proud of, a degree that employers will respect. Purdue's online university is designed to support working adults like you who know it's never too late to accomplish your goals. It's never too late to make a comeback. It's time to start yours today at purdueglobal.edu.
This episode is brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. It's a special thing to be a member of Navy Federal because they are a member-owned, not-for-profit credit union that invests in its members with amazing rates and low fees. That's why members could earn and save more every year. Plus, they serve all branches of the armed forces, veterans, and their families. So if you're interested in becoming a member, learn more at NavyFederal.org. At Navy Federal Credit Union, our members are the mission. Insured by NCUA.
Episode 361, what are mutual funds and what do they cost?
Welcome to the Frugal Friends podcast, where you'll learn to save money, embrace simplicity, and live a richer life. Here are your hosts, Jen and Jill.
Welcome to the Frugal Friends podcast. My name is Jen.
My name is Jill.
And today we are talking about mutual funds. If you have not heard that phrase before, it is an investing term, and it can sometimes be confused when we're talking about all the different types of funds. So stock fund, bond fund, index fund, exchange traded fund, mutual fund. So there's all these different types of funds. And we're going to talk about how you figure out what's going in your Roth IRA, 401k, and if you're working with a financial advisor, how to figure out if that person is working in your best interest or not. Because a lot of the terms we're going to talk about today, it's not going to be like an education, like a Merriam-Webster sort of thing. But once you understand what a mutual fund is, you'll be better able to advocate for yourself.
This entire episode will be my, Jill, vulnerability round. I kind of view myself like how musicians will sometimes describe themselves as, I don't know how to read music, I just know how to play it, is what I am to this entire podcast episode. I have invested in mutual funds, but I don't know how to read them, talk about them, explain them. So this is equally for me as it is for the rest of you listeners. And I'm going to learn alongside you. And Jen, I didn't tell you this, but my approach to this episode is as my own questions come up, I'm going to ask you them because vulnerability. And chances are someone else has similar questions. If you're really literally starting at ground zero, I'm here for you. I got you.
Yeah. And this is for you. This is not an investing podcast. We're not getting into the nitty gritty. We are really just educating you enough to do it yourself, do your own investing if that's what you want, and to advocate for yourself. So if you already know, if you've read, The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins, you probably, this is going to be a fun episode to listen to just reinforce everything, but you're probably not going to learn anything new. But if you're looking after this episode, you want to learn more, Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. It's one of our book club books, and it is a highly recommended book in our circle. But first, before we get into mutual funds and how much they cost, this episode is brought to you by stickers. We love a good sticker, whether it is on your bumper, your cup that is not a Stanley cup, your Kindle, the dresser in your child's room that is designated the only place where they can put their stickers. If you haven't tried that and you're looking for a way to condense all the stickers in your house, try the dresser method. This episode is brought to you by all those stickers because we have our own stickers. Frugal Friends has our own stickers. We have a cool logo bumper sticker. We have a cool sticker with pineapples that represent us wearing sunglasses, us as pineapples wearing sunglasses with dollar bills coming out of the top where the green stuff is. We have those. And we want to give them to you for free. You cannot buy these stickers. You can only get them for free by referring people to the friend letter. So if you are on our newsletter, we send it out 3 times a week with money saving tips and freebies in every single newsletter. And at the bottom of every newsletter, you have a unique code that you can share on your Facebook, in your Instagram profile, in your Slack channel or your Microsoft Teams or whatever. Share it. And if one person signs up to receive the friend letter because of your sharing link, because of the link you shared, you get a sticker pack. We will send it to you. That's it. That's all it takes.
A sticker pack, not even one sticker.
A sticker pack. You get both stickers. Yes. So head to frugalfriendspodcast.com to get the friend letter if you haven't signed up before. Or if you're already on the friend letter, then head to the latest release and scroll down to the bottom to get your unique link.
Do it.
Yes. So we do an investing episode maybe once a quarter, just a few times a year, because your investments are not just important to you retiring one day, but the earlier you start investing, the more money you save on the total amount that you need, your total goal amount. So let's say that's, just to be easy, $1 million that you want to have $1 million saved for retirement. If you start early and just invest a little bit per month, overall, you will have to contribute less than if you start later and invest more per month. So it saves you money to start earlier, even with lower amounts. So that's why we talk about it. We also want you to know that you can invest on your own via your 401k and your IRA. You can do this all on your own. You do not need a professional to do it for you. You absolutely can hire somebody, and we'll talk about kind of a few tips on how to choose that person throughout this episode. But we also want these episodes to help you gain the confidence to do it yourself, because you save the most money, obviously, by doing it yourself. That's frugality. And you spend a little bit more the more help you get. You don't have to, if you don't want to do it yourself, you don't have to jump straight to hiring a person. There's stuff you can do in between. So that being said, a few of our favorite investing episodes that we've done, episode 180, minimalist investing, we go through our favorite, the ones that I have personally used in the past, because we can't give you investment advice. We can't tell you what to invest in, but these are things both Jill and I have personally invested in, and that if you read any reputable blog or book, they will talk about these. And there's a reason that these things get talked about a lot. If you're hearing something new, then that's when to be skeptical. But if you're hearing something over and over and over and over, that's going to be a better use of your time in looking into. But minimalist investing goes over the 1, 2, and 3 fund portfolios that we use. And then episode 146, understanding the stock market and investing with Bola Sokumbi. She is from Clever Girl Finance, and that's where we go through more of the like Merriam-Webster, understand the names and terms. So this is just going to be kind of deciphering what's in your 401k, what is in your IRA or should be in it. So let's start with our first article. It's from Bankrate, and it's what are mutual funds? So Jill, you went through this article before I did, and what is your first impression?
This is my contribution this article. There were other articles in our outline that probably you or Goldie put into it, and it already felt like the step ahead of this article. And I'm like, well, hold on. We need to back up and just define mutual funds before we talk about all the other things the questions that might come after that. Every other article assumed you already knew, and I didn't. I couldn't totally tell you and give you an exact definition. So I loved this article because it really helped me to get a grasp on some of the things that I'm already doing to invest for retirement and helps me to read the music. I don't want to, I just want to play the music, but here we go. A mutual fund is an investment vehicle that allows individuals to invest their money along with other investors. So essentially, these funds invest in a collection of securities like stocks, bonds, money market funds. Most mutual funds invest in a large number of those securities. So that's what allows you, the investor, to diversify your portfolio, which can help to reduce risk overall. So these collection of investments on their own would be too much, typically, for an average single investor to own. So this opportunity for people to pool their money together can be really beneficial for more your average investor. So one of the ways that I also read in another article that kind of helped me to understand a mutual fund is, thankfully, this language isn't super out there in terms of what it's talking about. Like, a mutual fund is a mutually funded investment, meaning if we were all kind of standing around an island in a kitchen and there was a bowl in the middle of it, and every one of us put in $100 into that bowl, we are mutually funding the money in that bowl. Then the money in that bowl can go and invest in these different securities that we've mentioned. So that's essentially what you're doing with a mutual fund. You're not owning individual stocks. You're owning kind of the investment into those stocks. You're mutually funding it. How'd I do, Jen?
That's perfect. Yes, that is a perfect way to say it. The investment vehicle kind of picture. So if I could maybe use a farmer's market. Let's think about a farmer's market. So a farmer's market is in our city, it's in one parking lot, and it's got a bunch of different booths in it. And it's in a larger city, rather, and there can be multiple farmers markets in the city, right? So your Roth IRA or your 401k is the city, and it can hold as many mutual funds as you want it to, and those are the farmers markets. And the farmers markets are made up of individual booths, and those are the stocks, bonds, real estate, utilities, all kinds of different things. You have all kinds of different things at the farmer's market. So that's kind of a way to look at it. And we're looking at the actual farmer's market today. And there are a lot of different types of mutual funds. So we talk a lot about index funds because they're low cost and we love them. Index funds are a type of mutual fund, which not a lot of people realize. It was one of the things, it took me a long time of investing and learning about investing before I put two and two together. So there are different types of funds. We've got equity funds, which is, stocks, all kinds of different stocks, large companies, small companies, growing companies. And these are, they're called small cap, which is smaller companies, large cap, which are the larger companies, growth funds, stocks. Those are the companies that are growing rapidly. So they seem like intimidating terms, but they're not. That's just, small, large, growing. And you've got your bond funds, which are the bonds, which are debts that you buy a bond and that money is loaned out to somebody depending on the type of bond. So you got your bond funds. And then you have balanced funds, which is a collection of both. Those are those target date funds we talk about so much. That's a balanced fund. And then you've got your index funds, which can be stocks, can be bonds. Index funds just means that it is it's following some kind of index. So it is maybe the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ. These are different indexes that kind of track the health of the stock market. And that index fund is just tracking that. So a total stock market is going to have the total stock market kind of in ratio of and like weight of these large companies to small companies. That's why if you looked at the S&P 500 and the total stock market fund next to each other, those top 10 funds are going to be pretty much the same because they're going to be in a similar, just the ratios are going to be a little bit different. But they're not going to be that different. The total stock market is just going to have those smaller cap stocks in it where the S&P 500 wouldn't. So they're all very similar.
Mhm.
Like if you're looking at it, the big players are very similar. But I was just going to say, you have these stock funds and these bond funds and balanced funds, but those can all also be index funds too.
One of the questions that came up for me as I was reading through all of these different articles, wonder if you can help explain this, Jen. They seem to be using the word securities in a couple of different ways that I can't totally, they're like securities like stocks, bonds, etc. And then sometimes they're like, you buy securities, and maybe that is the same thing, but how are they talking about securities? What does that mean?
So securities are the stocks per se. There is probably a really technical definition. So the technical definition is a fungible, negotiable financial instrument that holds some type of monetary value. So it's just something that holds a value. Stocks, bonds. A mutual fund is a security because it's got stocks and bonds within it. An ETF, it's not a mutual fund, but it kind of runs the same way. So that is a security. It's a blanket term for all of these things.
Okay. Yeah.
Anything
that's
that
helpful.
holds value.
Right. I was like, well, now what is a security? But it sounds like that's kind of an umbrella term that they're using.
It is. Yes.
We kind of highlighted this already, but just to reiterate how mutual funds work, they are that pooled investment where lots of people are pooling their money, mutually investing it into this fund to own shares. So mutual funds then do invest in many different companies. Once that money gets pulled, then it becomes invested. And some invest in even the entire stock market. As we've talked about before, though, that they can invest in other things like bonds. However, when you buy shares in a mutual fund, you don't invest in those companies directly. You own shares in the fund, not the companies the fund selects. But hopefully it is a well-managed fund. You've done your due diligence in picking your mutual funds. And so you, the investors, the ones who are mutually investing in this fund will do well as those companies do well. But again, you don't own stock in it. You kind of, you own the
and
fund.
For most of us, we don't care about annual shareholder meetings or voting for these companies. Like, I only own one single stock. I don't really care, and I don't really participate in any of its goings-ons. But for the majority of us, we don't really care about that stuff. We're trying to just lower our risk while still taking enough risk to grow our money to have enough for retirement. So if that's you, and you don't, own a hedge fund or anything, then mutual funds can be really great. But there are pros and cons. So pros, obviously, they diversify by investing in a large number of securities, and they have low minimum investments. So sometimes like $10, but normally around $1,000 to $3,000. They are somewhat managed. We'll get into management in the next article. That's where we're going to really spend a lot of our time. They're very liquid. Index mutual funds are one of the least expensive ways to invest. So there are a lot of pros. They are our favorite way to invest. Second is ETFs, which are very similar, and I'll cover those in a second. But there are cons. So when we talk about mutual funds, not all mutual funds are created equal, right? Somebody can say mutual fund and be thinking one thing, and you could be thinking a totally different thing. And that comes up a lot. So while fees for some mutual funds may be low, like the index mutual funds, the expense ratios on other funds can be quite high, which can hinder your long-term wealth building. And when mutual funds were created, I think back in the 70s, it was a fantastic way for the average mom and pop investor to be able to invest in the stock market without the risk of single stocks, without the risk of investing in businesses that may fall. Mutual funds really changed the game. And then index mutual funds changed the game again, and the internet changed it for everyone. So it's just become easier and less expensive to invest and almost safer because of the diversification with every new technology that comes out in the financial sector. So it's fantastic. But we started with mutual funds, which when you're thinking about liquidity and safety versus risk, even with their high fees, they were still the way to go, like back in the 80s. So there are some people that still live by and fully support actively managed mutual funds, which, back in the 80s, 90s, not a bad idea, but embracing technology and how it's evolved investing, you would be blind not to embrace that. And so, but because of that, and because of those people that are still really attached to the old way, mutual funds can also lack transparency. So you may not know exactly what's in them. Index funds obviously are the exception. Every single index fund, you go on Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab, you're going to see exactly what's in there and the percentage. But if you're not investing directly through them, you may not be able to know. It may be a proprietary formula for what's in the fund. And then mutual funds, unlike exchange traded funds, which can be bought and sold like stock, mutual funds can only be exchanged at the end of the day. Most people will not care about that. There are some tax advantages to exchange traded funds. So if you are very interested in lowering your taxes, then those would be something to look at. If not, then mutual funds are fine. And then this is probably the biggest one. Some mutual funds charge commissions. Those are called loads. So if you ever hear load, that's a commission in the mutual fund world. And that can seriously, seriously hurt your returns. So these are some of the pros and cons with mutual funds. I think the big takeaway here is not all mutual funds are created equal. And we want you to know the difference in mutual funds.
Mm-hmm.
So just one further note on ETFs. They work a lot like index mutual funds. So they'll track an index or an asset, and they can be bought and sold on the exchange. They're great. We would talk about index funds and ETFs kind of interchangeably. So if you already have ETFs in your portfolio, that's totally fine. It's not, they're passively managed. So don't think you need to go out and change your whole portfolio just because we're talking about mutual funds in this episode.
It was also helpful for me to read throughout this article and probably some others about where you are even going to find your mutual funds. Like chances are, if you have a 401k IRA that you've invested in, mutual funds may be a part of that. So you can invest in mutual funds through your 401k, your IRAs, your 529s. There's other options of where you can put your money, but that was a helpful marker for me to kind of understand, because I wasn't sure, is this kind of separate from retirement accounts? Mutual funds are what people are investing in just to like make a little bit of cash in the here and now and not in investment or not in retirement. But what I've come to learn is both, and you can engage in mutual funds in this way. But this is where another question came up for me, and I'm going to ask you, Jen, before we get into our second article. Will people invest in mutual funds? And I'm going to imagine this is like the non-tax advantaged accounts, just for, I'd love to just invest some money and maybe have it grow and cash out on it in 5 years. Is that also a way, not just for retirement planning? Or how might people engage in mutual funds primarily, or what are the options?
Yeah. That's called like a traditional brokerage account, the account outside of your retirement accounts. And I definitely have index funds in my traditional brokerage account. I like to play around with them. So we didn't talk about all of the different types of funds, but there's also international. There is sector specific. And I play around with kind of sector specific index funds. There are some maybe slightly actively managed low-cost funds that might have a 0.4 or a 0.5% expense ratio, and that's the fee, that's the cost of buying it. Whereas a lot of index funds will be below 0.1. So obviously that's much higher. But that's kind of where I'll play around with that. If you're interested in really, really optimizing the tax strategy of a taxable brokerage, that's not my expertise. I only really think about investing for retirement. But I do play around outside of it. But yes, I have the single stock, but like most of it is most of my taxable brokerage is in mutual funds.
Can you have a taxable brokerage fund like through your Vanguard, Fidelity, that kind of thing?
Mm-hmm. Yes, you can have both. It's definitely, so most places, like if you're thinking about like investing apps like Robinhood and Acorns and stuff like that, they would all be taxable brokerage. I think now some of them you can open a retirement account, but most everything is considered taxable brokerage. Only the reputable places, robo-advisors and stuff, are going to have the retirement accounts. So yes, everyone offers a taxable brokerage account. It's only the reputable places that offer retirement accounts. So that's, yeah. If it doesn't, and my rule of thumb, if the app or whatever fintech thing that you want to try investing in, if it does not offer a Roth IRA option, don't touch it. Don't touch it. It's not established enough. It's not worth it. And if you're not maxing out your Roth IRA, don't touch a taxable brokerage. You should be maxing out all of your retirement accounts before you play with a taxable brokerage. The only money I have in a taxable brokerage was money I put in there from when I was maxing out my 401k and Roth IRA options. So I no longer put money in that taxable brokerage. That was literally from that season, and that money is just sitting there. So yeah, that's another highly suggest. Don't play around with taxable brokerages until you've maxed out all your retirement, tax advantaged options.
Beautiful. So helpful.
AI might be the most important new computer technology ever. It's storming every industry, and literally billions of dollars are being invested. So, buckle up. The problem is that AI needs a lot of speed and processing power. So, how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing. And of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less, like Uber, 8x8, and Databricks Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/strategic. That's oracle.com/strategic. oracle.com/strategic.
We know New Year's resolutions often don't stick. In fact, on average, they last around 30 days. So if saving money is on your 2024 resolution list, here's a foolproof way to stick to yours.
Switch your phone provider to Mint Mobile. For a limited time, wireless plans from Mint Mobile are $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. That's unlimited talk, text, and data for $15 a month.
For those of you paying close to $40 a month for just one phone line, this means a savings of $300 over the course of the year. We especially like Mint because all plans come with unlimited talk and text and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network.
To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/frugal. That's mintmobile.com/frugal. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/frugal. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. The next article is from Investopedia. Love it. So the Bankrate, Investopedia, they're really doing it on explaining these things. So this one is mutual funds, different types, and how they are priced. So helping us get a little bit more into the nitty gritty now that we know what mutual funds are.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And so you'll have mutual funds. We already went into the different types, and you'll see those in your retirement accounts. I forgot to mention this in the last article, but in a lot of 401ks, especially if you work for a smaller company, you are going to see those actively managed mutual funds. In a lot of 401ks, a lot of 403bs. If you're a teacher, I'm so sorry. Your 403b probably isn't in. It's probably in a high fee, actively managed fund. Not always, but a lot of the times, unfortunately. If you're working for a large company and your 401k is through like a Fidelity or a Vanguard or a Schwab, like you're set. So a lot of large companies use these, the ones that we love, but definitely check your 401k, 403b, et cetera, to see what the fees are. And then should I be prioritizing my IRA or my 401k? Well, definitely if you have, you're still going to save money in taxes in investing in a high fee 401k mutual fund versus a taxable brokerage. So again, what I said stands. Don't touch the taxable brokerages until you've maxed out your retirement, regardless of the options you have. But if you're thinking like, should I be investing in my IRA or my 401k? It's time to look at the fees and what kind of mutual fund is in your 401k to decide that. But yeah, I love Investopedia. It is where I cite when I was a retirement writer, I would cite them all the time. And I think I wrote for them for a couple months in a dream writing gig. So,
ooh. Wow.
I like this one. What did you think of this one, Jill?
Yeah, super helpful. Again, just kind of taking the next steps beyond what a mutual fund is, really helping you to understand it. Because I do think while you may be like me and you don't want to know how to read the music. Who cares if you can play the instrument? But it can certainly help. Any knowledge that we're willing to keep taking in can help inform us better in making even better decisions with what we're investing in. So specifically, we want to look at how are they priced? What can we expect with this? So it's helpful to understand that the value of a mutual fund depends on the performance of the securities in which it invests. So again, if it's investing in stocks or bonds, how well those securities are performing will dictate how well the mutual fund performs. So when you buy a unit or a share of a mutual fund, you as the investor are buying the performance of its portfolio. Said more specifically, it's a part of the portfolio's value. So investing in a share of a mutual fund is different from investing in shares of stock, which we already talked about. So the price of a mutual fund share is referred to as the net asset value, or NAV, N-A-V, per share, sometimes expressed as, is it NAVPs? Is that how people would say that? NAVPS. So a fund's NAV is derived from dividing the total value of the securities in the portfolio by the total amount of shares outstanding. And so those outstanding shares is referring to those held by all shareholders, institutional investors, or company officers or insiders of the company. So that's how a mutual fund is priced. I mean, we're not giving you exact numbers, but this is kind of how they're going to determine what your cost is to buy into the mutual fund. As Jen shared earlier, it could be as low as $10 upwards to $3,000, but still much more accessible for the common person than what it would be to maybe invest in like a single stock or another type of investment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ultimately, we don't care about the NAV price. You might go, so I'm looking at the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund, VTSAX, which I own a lot of, and the NAV price is $108.16. I never once have looked at the price per quote unquote share. It doesn't matter. The thing that matters, the actual cost of investing into the fund, is the expense ratio. And the expense ratio is 0.04%. And so you can actually get a 0% expense ratio with Fidelity. I forget it's just the Fidelity Zero, their total stock market index fund. But people might say, like, why does that one have, zero? A, it gets people on the platform, on the Fidelity platform, and B, they have money, in their pool, to fund whatever they do with the money. So that's why Fidelity gives, expense ratio free total stock market funds. But VTSAX, that's the one I own a lot of. We also have stock or index funds at Fidelity too. So, but let's talk about the management costs. So let's dive a little deeper into this actively and passively managed. What's the difference? So we said before that index funds, they are passive. So this is where the mutual fund literally is just set up in the exact ratio to mimic an index, kind of like the S&P 500. So that's the 500 largest companies in the stock market. And so it's got, the fund has pretty much all 500 of those stocks. Sometimes I think it may have like 498 or 499. I don't know. Sometimes it's weird, but basically it's all 500 of those companies kind of in the ratio that they make up the S&P 500 index. So that's that. And the strategy, setting it up that way, requires less research from analysts and advisors. You don't have to actively management. You can set it up on an algorithm. And so there are fewer expenses. And that saving is passed on to investors. And so index funds typically average around 0.44% in fees, but many are less than 0.1%. A lot. If you invested in index funds with a robo-advisor, which is kind of that midpoint between I don't want to do it myself, but I don't want to pay, hundreds of dollars to use a financial planner, I will use a robo-advisor. And that you'll see about 0.25% in an expense ratio. In addition, some are in addition to the actual expense ratio of the index fund. So that's like that middle section. So definitely, I would say keep your expense ratios below 0.25 as a rule of thumb. It's not like a hard and fast rule, but you absolutely can. Actively managed funds, on the other hand, they have a lot of fees.
Wow.
Yeah. So because they're actively managed with these proprietary ratios of stocks and bonds, so you're going to have these loads, commissions that pay the fund manager, that's called a front end load, of up to 5%, plus management fees for the ongoing management. You're going to have ongoing fees for distributions, which actually aren't that, those are not uncommon, but that's all in addition. And then my favorite fee that I have ever heard, this is my absolute favorite.
I like
this is my
segment.
favorite fee. This is the 12B-1 fee. And I love that they put this on your, the info sheet, right? Because it's 12B-1 fee. Who's going to question that?
How could you? How could you?
Right.
There's so many
What is
letters
it?
and numbers and dashes.
Right. What is a 12B? So it's capped at 1%. So it seems very inconspicuous. It is literally the fee that pays for the cost of marketing and selling the fund.
Wow.
and other shareholder services. It's a marketing fee.
Wow.
So, and then you've got other fees like custodial, legal, accounting, transfer agent, all that stuff. But to pay to market the fund. If it's a good fund, it should market itself.
I want to have a 12B-1 fee. Just anytime I want money from somebody. What's it for? 12B-1. Can't question it.
12B-1. Yeah, and write it on our taxes. What's this expense? Oh, 12B-1. It's marketing.
It's like stamps, the cost of stamps when I bought my house. The heck are stamps?
Yeah. And there is there's a special website on the internet that loves actively managed fees. And they went as far as to write an article on this website that shall not be named, but
you could guess.
How to avoid outrageous mutual fund fees, which is hilarious. So they list out all the fees that actively managed funds have: front end load, back end load, level load, then no load. So no load is no commission. And they're like, load versus no load. Which one's better? You might be looking at the list and thinking, no commission or sales charge? Sign me up. But, for example, a no-load fund may charge up to 1% in marketing and services called 12B-1 fees, which is less true than the load fees definitely charge that fee. Well, I can't say 100%, but I know from experience that they definitely, the ones I've seen, definitely do. And that doesn't sound too bad, but it just goes on to say how much 1% can eat away. And they say, you might not realize how much your no-load fund is costing you until you've been invested in it for years. You'd only know it then if you were keeping an eye on your costs and comparing them to other funds. And it just, I love it. I could read the whole thing and just crack up about how they compare it to a car and keeping a long-term view. But essentially, they're trying to convince you that paying somebody to manage and market a fee is going to make you more in the long run. And I think the only thing that investors, financial planners, writers, everybody in the world is trying to tell everybody, except for this website, is that you can't predict the market. You can't create a mutual fund that is for sure going to outperform the market. Nobody can be sure of that. There's no way, unless you have the gift of foresight, that you can create and actively manage a mutual fund that is guaranteed in the long run to outperform the market. That's the only thing that we know. So if you created a fund that just mimics the market, because we have that data that if you just leave it and let it go with the market, that you will more often than not achieve the same or better results as actively managed funds, and you avoid all the fees. So those studies have been done time and time again. And just know that nobody, even if you're watching the market all the time, like ask anybody in early 2019 if they saw 2021 coming, 2020, 2022. Like if they saw this coming in not if they saw it coming, but if they saw it coming in the exact years it came.
Yeah, it's good. And you know what I can always see coming? It's predictable, consistent, very low to no load, no fees.
No load.
The bill of the week.
That's right. It's time for the best minute of your entire week. Maybe a baby was born and his name is William. Maybe you paid off your mortgage. Maybe your car died and you're happy to not have to pay that bill anymore. Duck bills, Buffalo Bills, Bill Clinton. This is the bill of the week.
Hey guys, this is Megan from Alachua, Florida. My bill of the week highlights values-based spending. And if that sounds familiar, it's because I learned it from listening to your podcast, which I love, by the way. So I own a small cleaning business, which means that I'm on my feet a lot. So I finally broke down and decided to invest in a really comfortable orthopedic pair of shoes, which were on the spendy side. I'm not in my 20s anymore. Heads up, 30s are the new 50s. But once I splurged, then I've found that since wearing them, they're worth every penny. So thank you again, guys. Also, as a side note, Gainesville, Florida has a Rural King. Didn't know if you guys knew that. I know you'd mentioned it on a previous episode, but if you ever felt like doing a road trip, you could head up north. Word to the wise, it's basically like Tractor Supply's bigger, uglier cousin. Just heads up. All right, thank you guys. Love the podcast.
So much in that first. Shoes, yes, love. Actually looking for my own pair of feel-good feet shoes and thinking about splurging. So, yes, 30s, love. And then also, Rural King. I don't know when I would ever go to Gainesville, but Rural King, piggies, it's got me.
I still don't think I know what that is. Had you referenced that, Jen?
So we talked about it. I went on a cruise and everyone was talking about their pets, and the people at our table had just very weird pets, like not weird, but just bizarre, like lovely, bizarre. One had a skunk and the other had piggies.
Okay.
And she was talking about how she got the piggies as an impulse buy from Rural King.
Wow.
And I stopped her and I was like, tell me about Rural King.
Oh, we can visit it. And Megan in her comfy footwear. Wow. Yes. Well done, Megan.
Well done, yes. And that's a business expense. If you wanted to expense it, it's a business expense.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, because taking care of your feet, I think, is taking care of the rest of your body. And this is something I've come to know in my 60s, which is my 30s, that you can't just wear the fashionable footwear. It's got to be, it's got to make sense. You know, it's got to support you. It's got to support the activities you do all day. Otherwise, it's back pain and more for us. So I support you. Well done. Hope that cleaning business is going well. if you all listening are pleased to spend on your comfort, and that's where you are implementing some values-based spending, or your name is Bill and you own a Rural King, wouldn't that be something?
You've been to Rural King?
I'm pretty sure that's a real situation. So visit frugalfriendspodcast.com/Bill. We can't wait to listen to it.
We all agree that reducing carbon emissions is a good thing. And once again, Toyota is leading the way.
Yeah, we hear a lot about fully electric vehicles, and Toyota, they got them with more on the way, I'm telling you.
We also know a BEV is not for everyone, whether it's because of cost, range, or if you're like Ray and you're going to start freaking out, oh no, I can't find a charging station when that battery gets real low.
Yeah, plus the raw materials used to manufacture batteries are limited. Enter Beyond Zero. So Toyota's vision for a carbon neutral future in vehicles and in manufacturing plants too. In the years ahead, trust me, it's happening, baby. The materials used to make just one long-range battery for an EV could be used to make batteries for 6 plug-in hybrids or 90 gas-electric hybrids.
That's why Toyota's position today is electrified, diversified, empowering you to choose how to reduce your own carbon footprint with the vehicle that's right for you, a hybrid, plug-in hybrid, or battery EV.
So shop, learn more, or get details at toyota.com/beyond zero. Toyota, let's go places.
Vroom, vroom.
It's never too late. Never too late to earn a degree. Never too late for a comeback. Between your busy career and taking care of a family, it can feel like there's never a good time to go back to school. But your time is now. Time to start your comeback with Purdue Global. As Purdue's online university for working adults, Purdue Global is dedicated to supporting adults like you who know it's time to earn the recognition you deserve. You have the experience, you have the knowledge, it's time to get credit for the work you've done. You can balance work, family, and everything in between while earning your degree. It's time to move forward in your career, for your family and for yourself, with a degree you're proud of, a degree that employers will recognize and respect. You're worth this investment in yourself to earn a degree you deserve. It's never too late. Never too late to go back to school and come back stronger with an education you can trust. Now is the time for your comeback. Start yours today at purdueglobal.edu.
And now it's time for the lightning round.
The lightning round. Pew, pew. Find a friend named Bill and take him to Rural King and record the bill at Rural King. That is my charge.
Wow.
To you, our community.
How long until that happens?
I don't know. Probably never. We still can't get a person named Bill to call. 3% of our listening audience is male, and none of them are named Bill.
It's the joke I believe our entire community is playing on us. They're all like, oh, yeah, for sure. I've got a family member named Bill. But it's just funny to make them beg and plead year over year for just a person named
Bill.
Year
after year. Oh, wow. We're going to have to go out to like the that Netflix show of the magic guy where he goes, magic for Susans. And we're going to have to like go on the street and find bills, like the bill of the week one day. Maybe when we're doing book promo.
I'll be more excited to meet a person named Bill than to find like a dollar bill on the ground.
For sure. Okay. Lightning round. What's your quote unquote lesson learned the hard way from your savings and investment journey?
It's too vulnerable, but I have shared it on the podcast before, so I'll say it again. It's because hopefully it'll help one of you who's listening. I thought I was doing so good years ago. Still, though, when we I did not begin investing for retirement until after Jen and I started this podcast. It took me a while because at first I was just like, yay, I'm getting out of debt and learning how to manage my money. That seems good enough. And that is, it's great. And then it was like, oh, okay, there's another step. I can be investing now. So I thought I was doing it. I opened up a Vanguard account. Actually, I made 2 mistakes. Oh my. Okay. Vulnerability. Open up a Vanguard account, Roth IRA, because our combined household income doesn't, we're allowed to have a Roth IRA. Bonus points for us. And I did all of it, right? I even designated a, what do they call it? Someone who gets your money after you die.
A beneficiary.
Thank you. I did all of that, which I've heard a lot of people skip over. But and I put money in it. I funded it, I thought. But what I failed to do was invest it. So I set up my whole bank account, moved the money over. I even set up automatic deposits. So money kept going over into Vanguard month over month for at least a full year. And then I heard Jen say something about a common mistake people make is opening up an account, putting money into it, and then never actually investing it. I'm like, those silly folks. And then I was like, wait a second, have I done that? I don't know if I've done that. Looked into it. Sure enough, didn't. And it still took me probably like a whole month to even come to you, Jen, to be like, what do I have to do now? I think this is me. And I think this has been me for a whole year. Because that's where all those funky numbers come into play. That those letters that Jen was listing, like the VSFXATTCY, whatever comes in. If that doesn't sound familiar to you, like needing to pick a series of uppercase letters, then you've not invested yet. So that's got to be part of it. The second mistake that I made with this Roth IRA is I thought, I don't know, you guys, I didn't think about it that much. This is the whole, like, I don't learn how to read music, I just play music, which also isn't true for me. But I, for whatever reason, thought that this was kind of like a shared thing for my husband and I, that this is our shared retirement account and that you could kind of only have like one per household. No, each person can have their own Roth IRA. Each person should have their own Roth IRA. So it was like even another year after that I realized this. I'm like, I got to get Eric a Roth IRA. So then I knew to actually invest the money. Here we are. So learn from my mistakes. I'll be your Bernstein Bear.
I can't believe that I wouldn't say that both of you should have one. I feel so like religiously adamant that everyone should have their own Roth IRA.
You probably just whoever else would think that it's just kind of one per household. It wasn't necessarily that you kept info from me. It's just whatever I didn't even think to think about.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, which is easy to think when it's definitely like it's tax advantage. So you think it's tied to your taxes. If you're married filing jointly in your taxes, you think one Roth IRA.
Thank you.
But it's not the case.
Yeah.
Everyone can and should have their own Roth IRA. Even if you are a stay-at-home spouse with no earned income, if you are married filing jointly, and this is where the one thing where it does tie to your taxes, if you're married filing jointly and your spouse has taxable income, then the unworking spouse is eligible for their own Roth IRA. Should you meet the income threshold. So yes, absolutely. And we got you figured out with the investing part. That's why that's another reason why it's important to know what a mutual fund is and to know kind of that farmer's market. Like if your 401k or your Roth IRA is the city, your city has to have things in it and the farmer's market. You can't just put money into it and then it just sits there. It's got to be put into something. And that is the mutual fund, the index fund. So you got to buy the index fund, and the conduit to get there is just the account. So definitely easy mistakes. I wrote 2 on here, sames. So One was an actual mistake and one was an almost mistake. So my actual mistake was I actually forgot to invest money I put into an IRA, into a 401k rollover. So I put money into, I did a 401k rollover. And this is why we love Capitalize, frugalfriendspodcast.com/capitalize. We love Capitalize because they do 401k, 403b, all those. They do rollovers into IRAs for you. It's a rollover concierge. It's free. They just make a commission if you choose a certain brokerage or robo-advisor, but you don't have to. So we love them because I personally did a 401k rollover myself as a retirement expert and let that money just sit there. Granted, I was having a baby, and so I didn't look at my investment. Like I did the rollover and then just didn't look at anything for a year because I had a newborn. But when I did check in and realized, oh my God, I am so dumb. I made the mistake I tell other people not to make. So that was my biggest. I lost a whole year, and it was a lot of money. I lost a whole year of growth on that. And it was 2018. So it wasn't the best year for investments, but, wasn't the worst. So that's my biggest. And my almost mistake was I almost got into an actively managed fund. So when I knew nothing about investing, we had just finished off paying our debt. And I was like, okay, the next step is to have somebody invest my money for me. That's just what I thought. And so we sought out somebody to manage our money for us. And I'm sitting through this sales pitch. And I'm like, why is it a sales pitch? Why am I here for so long? I don't understand. This is, I didn't know anything about investing, but the sales pitch just gave me skeezy vibes. And this was we knew this person. It's not like this was a stranger to us. This was actually a friend of ours that did this, and we sought him out and to do this. And so from the sales pitch, then I started researching on YouTube ways to invest your money. That is what led me to, this was 2017. So this was 6 months before we started the podcast. I was not into podcasts, but this is what led me to Stacking Benjamins, Afford Anything. This is what led me to The Simple Path to Wealth, and literally, kind of saved me from making this mistake. And I went as far as saying, I will, because I was already writing about personal finance at this point, but I was writing about debt payoff and saving money and making money. I was not writing about investing. And so I had kind of a foothold in the personal finance community, but by no means in the investing or financial independence community. And that's what started me as that initial research. And I went as far as to call our friend and be like, hey, you can manage Travis's money, but I think I'm going to do my own thing. And he's like, well, actually, we would prefer to do couples together. So we won't do one or the other. And I was like, okay, well, then you're going to do neither. And that's how I got it out of it.
And that's how to lose friends and make money.
Yeah. But because he was a friend and I didn't want, to just jip him. I felt like he had already invested all this time in the sales pitch, which I didn't realize what it was initially. I knew it felt, I couldn't name it. And now I know the name. It's a sales pitch. It's that 12B-1 fee. If it's free, you're still paying for it because nothing is free. That 2.5 hour, 3 hour long, God, it was so long, sales pitch that I sat in there for where they were not being quote unquote paid is that 12B-1 fee at work. Other people were paying for that. So yeah, I really dodged a bullet on that one. And I hope that you guys will dodge the same bullet.
Thanks so much for listening, everyone. We love sitting here with you, learning, having fun, laughing. You know what else we love? Reading your reviews. That's so fun. Many of you are leaving us such kind, thoughtful, enjoyable reviews like this one from Jamps Jample. Love that. Love reading that and saying that out loud. Practical and encouraging. I listen to every episode of this podcast and really enjoy these ladies. I find it encouraging and full of practical tips for helping me stay on course with my financial goals. Thanks, Jen and Jill. You are welcome, Jamps Jample.
Yes.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Jamps Jample. Yes, if you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to leave a rating and review. It helps potential new listeners know what our show is about. So if they're looking for a retire early, invest all your money in complex strategies and stonks, this is not the show for them. They'll know that.
Nice. See y'all next time.
Frugal Friends is produced by Eric Sirianni.
Jill,
Tell me.
Okay, did I tell you about the running shoes, the new running shoes that I bought?
Yes, that you got them on sale, but you're putting them aside until you're ready and need them.
Yes. Did I tell you the whole story about them?
Maybe not. Go for it.
So this, Megan, our Bill of the Week, reminded me of this. And I was in the running store on our anniversary weekend. I had to have told this on the show. Have I not? That we were so our anniversary weekend.
Yeah.
We're in a running store and I see the running shoe that I usually run in on sale for like half off. And I'm like, what? And they're the exact shoes. Like, this is no compromising. I'll pay $150 for shoes, like to run in.
Mm-hmm.
No problem.
Mm-hmm.
Once a year, I'll drop it. Because yes, having good shoes is important. And here they are, like the shoes I run in. And they're half off. And I'm like, please, may I try? I don't need new running shoes right now, but I can't, pass these up. And I try them on and I'm like, oh, they're perfect. I'm getting them, and I'll just set them aside. And the guy's like, you know why they're half off? And I was like, no, why?
You did.
He's like, there's nothing wrong with them. They're brand new. It's because they're the gold edition.
Uh-huh.
And they misspelled gold.
Yep. We did talk about this. It is coming back to me. Yes.
Okay. But I just had to reiterate.
Yes.
Because the shoe actually says Glod. So I've been calling them my Glods. And I can't wait to wear them. They feel so comfortable. And I put them on the top of my closet and I just get to look at my Glods every morning.
What a good year that's going to be. When you're in your Glod year, what else could go wrong?
Next year is my Glod year.
Glod.
This is our Jordan year. Everybody seems to forget it's 2023. This is your Jordan year. Like
Slivers
normally we
and
say it when you're
glods.
23 years old, but no, this is everybody's Jordan year. And it's you only got a few weeks left. Make it the best because this is the last Jordan year you're getting.
Sliver and glod.
Then if you're lucky, you could have a Glod year.
Glod.
But not everybody gets a Glod year.
With the best all-inclusive vacation deals to Mexico and the Caribbean, booking your getaway with Cheap Caribbean Vacations means you have more freedom to do your deal. Whether you want to enjoy snorkeling, endless margaritas, and more, or simply soak up the sun and sand in a tropical paradise, Cheap Caribbean Vacations has your deal for that. Plan and book the exact getaway you want at exactly the right price for you by using our exclusive Budget Beach Finder, or find a featured all-inclusive package to Paradisus by Malia Hotels, and do your deal at cheapcaribbean.com.
Bring home Napoleon.
Destiny has brought me here.
The action epic from acclaimed director Ridley Scott.
What is your name?
Napoleon. You are the greatest leader in the history of the world.
Witness the rise
You are nothing without me.
of the legend. Starring Academy Award winner Joaquin Phoenix and Vanessa Kirby.
I'm the first to admit when I make a mistake. I simply never do.
Napoleon. Buy or rent on digital now. Rated R.